Ryan and I just played Sanctuary. This is an Ark Nova game. And in fact, we're going to have that playthrough up on the channel very soon. But we wanted to share our thoughts about the playthrough with you right now. Give you some ideas of what we think of the game, how it compares, how it contrasts to Ark Nova. It is not a re-implementation of that, but in tile-laying form. But it does have a lot of familiarity.
Right. This is not one of those situations, and we've seen this with some other games. Like we just talked about Railroad Tiles, where it was like, I don't need to play Railroad Inc. again because Railroad Tiles does everything that game does, but better. This is not that, and it's not meant to be. That's not a criticism of Sanctuary. It's meant to capture some of the feeling that you have playing Ark Nova, but in a completely different format. But what it does do is for people like me and I think you really enjoyed Ark Nova as well.
Yeah.
For people that really liked Ark Nova, you're going to notice a lot of DNA that's carried through this. You're going to recognize a lot of the icons, a lot of the gameplay functions, and a lot of the abilities. But it does it like it is a completely brand new game in almost every other way.
Yeah, I mean, it is a tile laying game and a tile laying game only. In your turn, you're going to be getting a tile from this display, and then you're going to be using one of your action tokens, just like you do in Ark Nova. When you take the action, it moves down. So it uses some of the same systems. Like we said, there's a lot of things that you're going to feel like, oh, it's like Ark Nova. Oh, it's like Ark Nova. But at the same time, it's not like Ark Nova.
Sure.
So with that said, I would say one of the things we always want to talk about, who a game's for, who it's not for. We will get to that in a second. But just to kind of nip it in the bud, if you are a hardcore Ark Nova fan and someone who just prefers heavier games, you might play this and go, oh, well, it doesn't quite do what Ark Nova does. That is by design, for sure. I think on the flip side, if you love Ark Nova and you want a faster experience, or this is sort of a very specific and unique scenario, but if you really like Ark Nova, but you can't get anyone around you to play Ark Nova because they don't want to play a longer, more, meaty game like that, you might be able to play this with them, get them to play it, get people to the table. You can still enjoy some of the things that Ark Nova does, or at least some of those feels, if you will. And at the same time, you might even be able to graduate some of those people to Ark Nova. Now,
maybe. It's a big step.
It is a big step.
It is a big step. And I'm going to say I played it twice, and I'm glad I played it twice before we filmed this video, because me, as the guy that likes heavier games, as the guy that likes Ark Nova, I was very excited to play this because I think I had an expectation that I was going to feel the same way I felt playing Ark Nova. It takes out some of the things that I loved about Ark Nova. There's no more card play at all. It's all done with tiles.
Yep.
And there's no money, which was interesting. There's no that flow of Ark Nova of like building up and then like triggering an income phase and getting all that money. All that's gone. I think this game is better for it. But when I sat down to play with the expectation of like, okay, I'm expecting a heaviness level of Ark Nova, and I was about halfway through my first game and I was like, this is really not that heavy experience I was looking for. But then coming into it the second time, knowing what it was and like celebrating the differences from Ark Nova, I think I was able to enjoy it a lot more the second time.
Yeah, and I can attest to that. He did enjoy it a lot more.
We talked about it off camera.
We talked about it off camera. I enjoy it quite a bit, even my first play, because I think a lot of those things, I think about a lot of those things I just mentioned in terms of like, how many people can I get to the table? Are the people in my life more willing to play this than, say, Ark Nova? And my wife, Alicia, has played Ark Nova with me. I think we may have even played it on the channel. But it is a long experience. Now, I wouldn't even say Ark Nova is too long, but it does take a while to play for some people. And we take our good, sweet time playing it. Sure. This thing can be played, I think, lightning fast. I think you and I, if we were on camera and you and I just wanted to bang out some games of this, it's an hour.
Oh, it's, an hour max for two
Maybe
players.
Less, yeah.
And I think if you had a good group of players that knew the game, I don't think your games are going to go more than 90 minutes.
Yeah, so if you are, to get to a little bit of who it's for, who it's not for, I think if you're looking for if things that Ark Nova does are a similar feel of that, but much faster, obviously this is a good opportunity. If you love tile laying games or the tile laying aspect of Ark Nova, first and foremost, then this is going to be something you really, really like.
It blows up that idea of the spatial puzzle. It's not necessarily the cards, though a lot of the stuff that you'd find on the cards, the tags, the points, the abilities, and a lot of the same feels that you get. So I'm going to say this, that I think that having played as much Ark Nova as I did made me a better player for Sanctuary.
That's true.
Because when I sat down to play this game, I didn't need to learn this strategy. The way that this game works is still very similar to Ark Nova. You'll want to get some of those support tiles or some of those project tiles out that like some, and they've incorporated a lot of the things into those project tiles. Like a lot of the agreements with the universities that give you discounts, a lot of the
ongoing
abilities, things that trigger when you play a primate, you do this. When you play a reptile, you do this. A lot of those are hidden in the project tiles or the buildings. And the way the game works, by giving you 4 actions, they've cut down some of the actions. Building is just a free action you can do. But now a lot of the buildings have like requirements. So the game says, well, you can play buildings for free. And a lot of these are going to give you scoring and in-game scoring and ongoing abilities. But they have some crazy requirements like being next to specific things or in certain places on the map that cause you to think about the spatial placement of your map maybe a little differently even than you would in Ark Nova. But those strategies are still there. And last thing on this, the whole concept of like fulfilling those conservation projects. They're not cards anymore. They just want you to have a certain number of icons in your zoo. But that idea of like, do I just go for one really quick early in the game and unlock some of my bonuses that will upgrade your action tiles? Or do you think that this might be an icon that I'm going to build up that I might eventually have 5 of? I think that strategy still feels very similar to what you would do in Ark Nova.
Yeah, it is interesting because I am inclined to go early and get some of those, the 2s and the 3s as fast as I can. But later in the game, you might find yourself sitting on, like I did, the one where I need 4 of something. And when you have a board full of a variety of things and not close to 4 of any of them, or you might be close to 4 of one, but it's one that you've already claimed, so you can't do that again, then you're just at the whim of the display and what comes out.
Which you were in Ark Nova too.
Yes.
That is something
that it hasn't come.
That has not changed. You're still going to be in that situation where you're like, I've got 3 primate tiles. If only I could just get a 4th primate tile. But this game does address that a little bit. There are these conservation tokens that are basically wild. So if you're sitting there looking for your 5th monkey and you never find it, you can turn in one of these. And the game actually does give you quite a few ways to earn these. You can earn them by like matching a male and female on your board, again, adding to that spatial puzzle. Like
a lot of the projects.
Yeah, but a lot of the projects and some of the buildings just give you these. And you can end up with quite a big stack of these. So you might only have 1 icon on your zoo, turn in 4 of these, and still claim the 5th. So I think this gives you an out, whereas base Ark Nova really didn't, although they did kind of fix that with the expansion. I actually like this system of collecting a bunch of those and then having a little bit more freedom because, again, you're only going to start off with 5 of these. And in the base game, or like I shouldn't say base game, in the original Ark Nova, more of those project cards come out as people play them and you start to see, oh, there's more options. Not in this one. You're going to want to do 4 of these 5, and those are your only options for that particular game.
Yeah, I think there are 10 of those tokens, which I assume, I haven't looked through them thoroughly, represent all of the different continents or regions and then all of the different animal types.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a pretty good variety there. And again, you're going to want to shuffle these tiles up pretty well between games because there's a lot of tiles, so I recommend just putting them out on the table and mixing them all up. One last thing I wanted to say that I think is important to say is if you're thinking like, is this just dumbed down Ark Nova? Like we've already addressed, it's not really just like Ark Nova. And also, I wouldn't say it's dumbed down. So if you're in the mood for a good tile playing game, I think this is one of the more robust tile playing games. Mechanically, all the different pieces and parts and how they interact, the combos you can fire off, how, like Ryan was saying, a lot of the tiles have requirements. So there's like, okay, I need to get some other things before I can play this. There's a lot of things going on for a tile placement game. Now, we take a game like Calico, it's crunchy and brain melty.
And that puzzle is really hard to solve in Calico.
It is hard to solve, but it's very simple in that the tiles, there's a few basic ways that they interact with each other and what you're looking for in that.
Or like a Cascadia style.
Or a Cascadia.
I think this is a level above all of that. And honestly, I would compare this to Cascadia more than anything, just because of the theme. I think if you've got people in your life that really like Cascadia and they're maybe ready for something a little meatier, this is a good opportunity because it isn't dumbed down. It's streamlined. And I say those are 2 different things because the actions are streamlined. There's less actions. There's no money to worry about. Everything is kind of based on the level that you take the action all the way up to like 4 to 5. But the one thing I will say about who this is really not for, if you did not like the spatial element of Ark Nova, of like where to put those, if you struggled with that, then maybe not, because that part of the game is blown up. Like the spatial puzzling is very important. We alluded to this, but you've got these like the backside of the tiles that can be played face down, and these are like open areas, and some animals require you to be next to those. But you can end up in a situation where you've kind of built for something and then make a mistake, and then all of a sudden now you can't complete what you were trying to complete, or you can't get things in a row. I mean, that's the nature of a spatial puzzle game.
Yeah, for sure. Later in the game, I actually had an animal that needed a couple of those open areas, and later it was going to be an impossible animal to play just based on what spaces I had left. Now, on the flip side of that, this game allows a lot of opportunity to use tiles for various things. And also, it more than Ark Nova, and I think even more than Ark Nova, even with the expansion, these actions often let you really cycle through these tiles, especially in a 4-player game. These tiles are going to move. Everyone's always taking one straight up.
Every round, you're always
beginning of your turn, you're always taking a tile. And then especially early game, the action you take is often taking more tiles.
Sure.
You might take another one for the display or take 2 from the box blindly, but you're getting a lot of tiles, and you always have to discard down to 6 at the end of your turn. So your tiles are not exactly something like, oh, I really need tiles. I'm going to take a couple turns so I can get a bunch of tiles again. You can get them pretty quickly.
And you can play them pretty quickly because you're not waiting for, and it's not that multi-step process anymore where it's like, I've got an animal I want to play. I need to get some money. I need to get an action high enough to build an enclosure. I need to make sure that the enclosure is where it needs to be. Then take the animal's action to actually play it. Like that's a multi-step thing. And when you're playing a crunchy game like Ark Nova, that might be a 3-hour experience. That works. But when you need a game that plays in an hour, you can literally, I'm going to take this one and then I can immediately play it with my action. Like you'll do that a lot.
And that's always very satisfying. It may not be the best long-term strategy.
Sure.
But if you see something like that staring you in the face, you can do it. The other thing that really helps the speed of the game, like we said earlier, is all those sort of anytime, or not anytime, but free actions that you can take at the end of your turn. You can play a building. That's not one of your action tiles.
Right.
I think it was really smart that they took that out of the equation with these action
and
tiles.
The conservation.
And the conservation.
You don't need to spend an action to go turn in. If you meet one of these requirements, you can turn it in. And the tiles that upgrade, each one of the tiles that upgrade your cards are linked to a certain thing that you'll need to have done when you require, like you just flip it over and you can upgrade one of your cards immediately.
And it will oftentimes naturally happen.
Yeah.
These things aren't like crazy things that you have to chase. Some of
the spatial ones, like the one having 3 terrain in a row, can be a little tough.
But as long as you focus on that, you can get some of your things upgraded pretty early so that you can have a little bit more juicier turns, particularly early on in the game.
For sure. And there's a lot of things we didn't dig into on here. You're going to see like a lot of the different scoring. Pretty much every tile has some kind of scoring. Some of those require them to be in particular spaces or have other tiles around them or have other tiles in your zoo or whatever. All of this, and you can kind of see what my board looks like finished. But the last game I played, it looked completely different.
Well, it was filled, first of all.
Well, first of all, it was filled, and I missed a couple spots. Yeah, we didn't even really. I mean, there's a lot more that we can teach you. But if you watch our playthrough, we do talk about all of this in way more depth.
Yeah, the playthrough has everything we didn't mention in this video. There's these little pouch tokens. So far, we've only seen that you can collect those with some tiles, and they're just 2 points each at the end of the game. But if there's not anything in this game, I'm guessing that there's going to be maybe inevitably expansion content.
This game could definitely have expansions.
You could easily have expansion. With that said, it comes with a lot of tiles.
It does.
Like we've played 2-player games, and I do think both times we made it about halfway through the stack. That is another way the game can be triggered. I think in a 4-player game, it's quite possible, right?
Possible.
Because we're a little over halfway ourselves.
Yep.
So anyway, if you have any questions at all about it, or if you've played it, which you probably haven't, but if you have, let us know what you think down below in the comments. As always, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you next time.